Hi, it's Katrina! From secret testing sites to uncontacted tribes, here are 10 things hidden on forbidden islands. Number 10. Vozrozhdeniya Island. The BBC called this island the deadly Germ Warfare Island Abandoned by the Soviets. This place is something out of a horror film, but it is actually real. During the Cold War, the Soviet Union used Vozrozhdeniya Island as a top-secret testing ground for deadly Soviet pathogens designed to wreak havoc when necessary. In the 1950s, the Soviet Union built a biological weapons test site called Aralsk-7 to perform all kinds of mysterious inventions and tests. The island was the perfect place, secluded and surrounded by a desert on the Kazakh-Uzbek border, thus ensuring that any outbreaks would hopefully be destroyed by the natural heat. The BBC reports that aerial photographs taken by the CIA in 1962 revealed that while other islands had piers and fish-packing huts, this one had a rifle range, barracks, and a parade ground. But that wasn't even the half of it. There were also research buildings, animal pens, and an open-air testing site. Vozrozhdeniya Island used to be small, but in the 1960s it started to swell up to 10 times its original size. As the Soviets diverted the water from the sea to somewhere else, here there was everything: the plague, anthrax, smallpox, brucellosis, tularemia, botulinum, and all kinds of other diseases with names that are difficult to pronounce. They would then modify this strain so that they couldn't be treated with the vaccines available at the time. Since the 1970s, there have been a series of sinister events reported around the island when mountains of fish started dying. Crew on a vessel that got too close to the island got smallpox, even though they had already been vaccinated, and 2 fishermen appeared to have died from the plague. This project was such a big secret, the place doesn't appear on any maps. It wasn't until later in the 1990s that an official expedition went to see exactly how bad it was. It was bad. There was an anthrax leak and over 100 people died. 200 tons of the stuff had been gathered and buried on the island, but spores can live on for years. There were pits with infected animals, dangerous materials in containers all over the place, and it took millions of dollars to clean it up. The place is still highly contaminated with carcinogenic pesticides and mercury, and reportedly there are no signs of life anywhere. It is not an easy place to get to, and it is not a place where you can just show up. Number 9. Diego Garcia Military Base. Situated just 7 degrees south of the equator in the central Indian Ocean, Diego Garcia is an atoll of the Chagos Archipelago. It became part of the British Indian Ocean Territory, or BIOT, in 1965, and its population and function changed dramatically over the following years. Until 1967, the 924 civilians living on Diego Garcia were nearly all employed as contract workers on coconut farms, owned by the Chagos Agalega company. That year, the BIOT administration bought out Chagos Agalega and leased the land back to the company, but the corporation terminated its lease at the end of the year. From 1968 to 1973, the UK government forcibly relocated Diego Garcia's citizens, sending many people to Mauritius and the Seychelles with little to no consideration for where they wanted to live. Despite the island being owned by the British, the US military built a large naval and military base there, and it remains in operation to this day, serving as one of 2 critical US bomber bases in the Asia-Pacific region, as well as a launch pad for military operations in the Middle East and a refueling station for South China Sea-bound US Air Force patrols. Between 3,000 and 5,000 service members and contractors live on Diego Garcia, but ordinary civilians are prohibited from visiting. The territory is currently embroiled in an ongoing tug-of-war, with the United Nations highest court ruling in September 2019 that the British illegally seized Diego Garcia from its rightful inhabitants. But the ruling is not binding, and the U.S. military is reluctant to vacate the premises due to its strategic importance. It would take a lot more than that to leave an important military base. The goings-on at Diego Garcia are kept under tight wraps. No journalist has ever visited the island, and not even military spouses can come to visit. It's practically a miracle we've ever even heard about it. Number 8. The world's most isolated tribe. North Sentinel Island is home to a virtually uncontacted tribe known to aggressively resist outsiders. Located in the Bay of Bengal, the island is part of the Andaman and Nicobar Islands archipelago and is a territory of India. Experts know very little about the Sentinelese people due to their long-established history of violently rejecting attempts at contact from the outside world. It is estimated the tribe has been around for 30,000 years and has lived in near-complete isolation, speaking a language that nobody else in the world knows. The Sentinelese have attacked nearly everyone who has tried approaching them, even killing several individuals. They are so hostile, authorities have even decided against trying to retrieve the bodies of slain outsiders to avoid further violence. Nobody knows why the Sentinelese are so quick to attack, although a good guess is they simply want to be left alone. Perhaps they have received a warning of some kind, or somehow know that it's most likely that bad things will happen if outsiders come. Their self-imposed seclusion probably benefits them because they have no natural immunity or resistance to many modern diseases, and sicknesses that most patients now survive could easily kill an entire tribe. For their safety, as well as the safety of others, in 1956 the Indian government implemented legislation banning visitors from going within 5 nautical miles of the place. Only a select handful of professionals have been allowed there since, including Indian anthropologist Triloknath Pandit, whose team established the first and only peaceful interaction with the Sentinelese in 1991. But some people have ignored the ban against visiting with deadly consequences. The most recent case happened in 2018, when a 26-year-old American Christian missionary named John Chow paid fishermen to illegally ferry him to the island. Chow knew the dangers associated with going near the Sentinelese, but he was so intent on spreading Christianity to the tribe, even though he didn't know their language and they don't speak English, and he had no one to vouch for him. He tried repeatedly to reach shore in a kayak and was attacked with arrows each time, forcing Chow to retreat back to the fisherman's boat. Eventually, the men who ferried the missionary saw the man had died. The fishermen who helped Chow reach the off-limits island were arrested and charged for their crimes, but the Indian government does not prosecute the Sentinelese for killing invaders. Coming here continues to be forbidden for everyone's safety. Number 7. Bishop Rock Lighthouse. The world's smallest island with a building on it is Bishop Rock, a scary or a small rocky island in the westernmost part of the Isles of Scilly Archipelago, which is located 28 miles off the southwestern tip of Great Britain's Cornish Peninsula. Measuring just 151 feet long by 52 feet wide, it's just big enough for the lighthouse that stands on it. The Bishop Rock Lighthouse was built in the 18th century to warn vessels of the Scilly Isles and the dangerous surrounding rocks, which had caused many shipwrecks. The first attempt at constructing the lighthouse failed when the tremendously strong winds the area is known for knocked the structure right over and into the sea. Builders resorted to erecting a granite tower, which withstood the elements far more successfully. It was completed in 1858, and in 1976, a helipad was installed on the roof. The lighthouse actually had a keeper living there until 1992, around which time it switched to automatic lighting technology. Today, its 10 floors are capable of accommodating up to 4 visitors who stay for 1 to 3 weeks at a time. So while it's not exactly forbidden, the Bishop Rock Lighthouse isn't in the most hospitable environment, and trips there are often canceled. It was one of the most hazardous and difficult sites ever to build a lighthouse. Number 6. Vis Submarine Tunnels. The island of Vis in Croatia is not only beautiful but has quite the military past. During World War II, the Germans took control of the strategically important island and built numerous structures, including a submarine base, as well as a secret underground tunnel and cave network. There are over 35 known places that were built for military purposes. Afterwards, it fell to Yugoslavia and became a very important place for leader Josip Broz Tito, who repurposed the Nazis' left-behind structures on Vis into a military base for his communist army. In the middle of the island, there was a large cannon and missile base to protect it from attack. Vis was closed to foreign visitors until sometime after 1989, when the breakup of Yugoslavia began to take hold. Around the same time, Tito's military abandoned its base on the island. Even for a while, there were parts on the island you could not go, including a large submarine dock, now a popular place for sneaky yachts. Locals were desperate for the military to leave so they could finally open the island to foreigners. Besides guided tours through the once forbidden military structures, you might recognize this island as the location where Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again was filmed. Number 5. Bizarre Base. In late 2018, Finnish authorities raided Sakkiluoto, a small privately owned island belonging to a Russian businessman from St. Petersburg named Pavel Melnikov. Leo Gaskivar, a retiree who lives on a neighboring island within the archipelago, which sits between Sweden and Finland, was shocked when he witnessed the commandos approaching Sakkiluoto in black speedboats. "I thought, wow, that is certainly unusual," Gaskivar told the New York Times. "Nobody ever visits that place." Melnikov took the security of his island seriously, covering it with surveillance cameras and no trespassing signs. Even more suspiciously, Sakkiluoto had 9 piers, a helipad, a swimming pool covered in camouflage netting, and a large amount of housing, all equipped with satellite dishes, according to New York Times reporter Andrew Higgins. Authorities claim that they conducted the raid, along with 16 others that day, out of suspicion of financial crimes, including money laundering and pension and tax fraud. But some believe that there is more to the story, including the possibility that the Russian military had something to do with the operations at Melnikov's property. The coordinated bust involved 400 officers, the region's airspace was closed to any aircraft not associated with the raid, and all the properties that authorities visited had suspected links to Russia. Russian Prime Minister Dmitry Medvedev denied such allegations, stating at a press conference following the raid, "I don't know in whose sick mind such a thought could be formulated. Such thinking is paranoid." Is it though? Russia's not really known for being upfront, but hey. The neighbor said, "I've been thinking for many years that they are doing something military over there," he said. "Building, building, building, but nobody knows what for." But the Finnish authorities remained quiet regarding exactly what they found at Sakkiluoto and the other islands they visited that day. The country has a long-standing history of avoiding tensions with Russia, leaving the world to wonder if the busts represented a rare effort on behalf of the Finnish government to put its foot down, and what it discovered in the process. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Number 4. Secret Testing Facility. Starting in 1942, during World War II, Scotland's Gruinard Island became a top-secret testing facility for biological weapons. The UK government used the small, uninhabited island, located in the Scottish Highlands, for experimenting with a deadly bacteria called Vollum 14578, which they packed into bombs and tested on innocent, unsuspecting flocks of sheep. The general takeaway from the project was that the substance was, without a doubt, capable of contaminating entire German cities for decades. Consequently, as the site where the tests occurred, Gruinard Island itself became poisoned, and it stayed that way for nearly 50 years. During the early 1980s, an organization called Operation Dark Harvest mailed toxic soil samples from the island to various British government agencies, demanding that they clean up the tainted territory. The government began doing so in 1986 by spraying a formaldehyde and seawater mixture on Gruinard Island, and in 1990 the toxic property was officially declared safe. Documents regarding the history of what went on there were declassified in 1997, making the shady situation available to the public for the first time. Following the decontamination efforts, a flock of sheep was left on the island, and none of them have tested positive for the poison since 2007. But some people believe that Gruinard Island could still be toxic and are unwilling to take their chances by going anywhere near it. Number 3. Torpedo Testing Station. Torpedownia is an abandoned German torpedo testing station that was left over after World War II. Located in the Baltic Sea's Bay of Puck, roughly 1,000 feet off the remote coast of Gdynia, Poland, it consists of a torpedo launcher and 2 smaller buildings, and in between there was a torpedo scavenging net. The World War II-era launch station, which was officially named the Kriegsmarine Submarine Arms Research Center, was only used for its original intended purpose for around 3 years, between 1942 and 1945. After the war ended, Germany was partitioned between the US, the UK, and the Soviet Union via the Potsdam Agreement. Meanwhile, Torpedownia and its environs were returned to Poland, which fell under Soviet authority. The Soviet military continued to use the man-made island for training military divers, but eventually deserted the site, taking its technical equipment back to the USSR. Torpedownia subsequently fell into disrepair, and a long wooden pier that once connected the complex to the shore was blown up to deter explorers from trying to reach the site. Today, parts of the deteriorated station have fallen into the sea, and the structure seems to be on the verge of collapse. The site is unsupervised and therefore accessible to visitors, but it's also unstable, and explorers are advised to proceed with caution. If you are a good swimmer, you can also get there that way, but it's probably not the best place to spend the day. Number 2. Protected wildlife. The Farallone Islands are located 28 miles off the San Francisco shore, so close they can easily be seen on a clear day. Consisting of 4 groups of islands spanning a 211-acre area, the closest most people ever get to the Farallone Islands involves passing by them during a boat tour, as they are close to the public to protect wildlife. The stretch of water between San Francisco and the rocky cluster of islands is known for being cold, turbulent, and teeming with sharks, and because of these dangers, many people refuse to even go near the Farallone Islands. In 2012, for example, 5 out of 8 crew members perished when their yacht crashed into rocks and capsized during the annual full-crew Farallones boat race. Sail magazine editor Kimball Livingston told the San Francisco Chronicle following the tragedy, "Even a Navy SEAL would feel panic in that situation. I'm surprised anyone survived." Anyone crazy enough to try sneaking onto the islands is doomed to fail. The treacherous, rocky coastlines prevent vessels from simply sailing up to the coastline. Researchers who visit the island transfer from a large boat to a smaller one, which is then lifted onto the island by a crane. There are 2 houses on southeast Farallone which house researchers and scientists who monitor the island's wildlife population trends. The islands are home to the largest nesting seabird colony in the U.S. and often serve as a waypoint for bird species from other regions who become lost during migration. In 2015, marathon swimmer Kim Chambers became the first woman and the 5th person ever to swim from the Farallones to the Golden Gate Bridge. She was aware of the dangers ahead of time, as she later recalled. "I was prepared not to come back," Chambers said. "I did my laundry because I wanted my place to be decent when they came to collect my stuff." Thankfully, she survived the swim, arriving at the Golden Gate Bridge 17 hours and 12 minutes after diving in. Number 1. Last paradise. The Mergui Archipelago of Myanmar, or formerly Burma, is a chain of over 800 largely uncharted, mostly uninhabited islands, some of which are home to the Moken, a tribe of seafaring nomads who live off what they catch in the ocean. They sleep in boats and live a hunter-gatherer lifestyle. Instead of using modern equipment, the Moken use small nets and spears. They are also known as people of the water, or sea gypsies. Their philosophy is to have a minimal impact on the environment and that natural resources cannot be owned individually. They share the pristine territory with numerous rare mammal, bird, and marine species. Estimates put the Moken population at anywhere from a few hundred to 3,000, and they speak a unique language that is unknown to the outside world. But the Moken's population is declining and their environment is threatened. For decades, the Burmese government prohibited the public from visiting the Mergui Islands. Tourism began during the 1990s, but the worst damage came starting in 2011, when authorities began accepting development proposals from investors. Today, the islands are increasingly being encroached upon by tourists, entrepreneurs, loggers, fishermen, and others seeking to capitalize from the Mergui Archipelago's vast natural resources and beauty. Thanks for watching! Would you dare visit any of these places? Some of them are much safer than others, that's for sure. Which of the Forbidden Islands would you like to visit the most? Let me know in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. See you soon! Bye!